All right, it is recording. Hello and welcome, everybody. This is part 7 of a level 3 training called Increasing Resilience in Your Life and in Your Home. And because we had a lot of new members and it's the beginning, it's January 7th, 2024, and a lot of the different areas that we were going to talk about in this training relate to all the different areas of your life, which would be a great presentation to help kick off the new year. So I decided to open this training to all level 1, 2, and 3 participants and members of Elected Society. So for those who are going to attend this live, I hope you guys really enjoy it. And for those who are going to be watching the video recording, I hope that you enjoy it as well. So let's jump right in. I started off with this slide of increasing resilience because it's the three little pigs, right? Have you ever heard of the story about, the three little pigs all trying to construct these different homes, but the big bad wolf comes and blows them all down, but it's the one who was actually prepared for it, who actually built a house out of bricks that was really, really strong. It's the only house that survived. So I thought it was a really kind of good metaphor for the training that we're going to be talking about today. So as we always start with all of our different trainings, we're going to start with a grounded meditation. It's only 2 minutes. It's to help us get mentally prepared and focused for this presentation. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to turn off my screen and hit play right now. Hold on.
Hello there, and welcome to this 2-minute meditation for grounding. Begin by sitting in a chair with your feet touching the floor. Relax your hands on your thighs with your palms facing upwards and close your eyes. Begin to breathe slowly in and out, noticing the feeling of how the air expands and contracts your belly and chest. Relax your body from head to toe and begin to imagine yourself in a beautiful, calming forest. Stay here and just admire the view, the trees, the sky, feeling the grass under your feet. Maybe it's autumn here and you feel the fallen leaves under your feet. As you stay here, relaxed and still, visualize how tiny roots begin to grow from the soles of your feet. These roots grow into the earth and make you feel grounded and secure. You now connect with Mother Nature's positive energy, making you feel so protected and loved. See how these roots begin to grow deeper and deeper into the earth, becoming thicker. Observe how you feel now, and when you feel ready, move your toes and fingers. Open your eyes and continue your day filled with centeredness, confidence, and compassion.
All right, let's continue our day with centeredness, confidence, and compassion. So what is going to be the learning outcomes for today's training? A lot. The first part is all going to be talking about resilience in your personal life, where we're going to discuss have a big discussion on who are the most resilient people and what are some of the best practices. That's where I really would like all of you to participate and share either in the chat or raise your digital hand. I also will give you the definition of resilience. And then I'm going to go over these 8 areas of your life where you could be more resilient. And I'm going to share personally what I have learned and what I have been doing in these 8 areas of my life so that it can maybe inspire you to actually take some actions. And I would also open any person to interrupt me and actually share some of their best practices in those areas of your life. What are you going to be your 2024 goals in all these areas? And we can share with all of that. Then part two is going to be all about resilience in your home. I hate to confess it, but yes, I was a former doomsday prepper. I love watching all the videos, all about what could happen. And there's a lot that I really learned about how you can be resilient in your home life. But there was also some different lessons that I gained from it that I think can actually benefit and serve all of you if you are not ever done any research in that community. Again, one of the big lessons is it's so focused on fear, and we know that fear is a negative emotion, and to so much focus on that is not healthy for you, and you are what you focus on. And then again, to me, the community is so focused on these threats that are actually probably not going to ever happen. So we'll look at what the data says. What is the real probable threats that is likely to kill you? Which I think if you want to stay alive and healthy, you should know what these are. And then we're going to talk about all the things that I did when I was in that prepper community about creating these 8 areas of my home life to be more resilient, and the mistakes that I made, and the best practices that I learned. So again, it can share some insight for you so that you can be more resilient in your home life. And then lastly, the importance of clean water. I think having clean water is so important. Sleep, healthy water, what you eat. And I actually wanted to learn about my clean water in my own hometown. And it brought me down this rabbit hole of amazing insights of what's going on in our environment, what we have to do, what you can do. And if I can just share some of my research going down this rabbit hole, I think it will really help you and set you up for success for having clean water wherever you are throughout the country. Okay, so let's jump right in. Developing resilience in your life. The definition of resilience is the capacity to withstand or to recover from difficulties, right? It's just another code word for toughness, right? We all want to be not fragile. We want to all be tough to be able to handle what's coming in any area of our life. And also another definition, it's the ability of a substance to spring back to shape, because life is going to knock us down. We can end up getting illnesses, getting sick. But the whole point is if we have done our best to prepare ourselves to become more resilient, let's say to become healthier, well, then guess what? We can withstand, different sicknesses that may come to us. We may build up the muscles we need, that we may recover if, for example, we fall from a different injury. So this is all about resilience. So now I'm going to pose the question to the community. All right, who do you know in your personal life are the most resilient people? Okay. And then I like to share some of the people I thought are the most resilient people in my life, but I also want you to share what your best practices are for becoming more resilient. So the first person while you guys are thinking of different people who are resilient in your life, I'm going to share one person that I can stand out, and that is my grandfather, John K. Duffy. He passed away many years ago, but the reason why I mentioned to him is because even though he was very soft-spoken, very nice, very sweet, he was actually one of the most resilient persons or people that I've ever met in my life. He almost became like a father figure to me when I actually moved from California to live here in New York. And what was so amazing about him and his resilience is because he had so many levels of skills in all these areas of his life. So he was really strong and powerful in the sense that he could do masonry work, he could do fence work, all these different little things, and just amount of stamina and patience. Like, for example, my grandmother never learned how to drive a car, yet my grandfather would drive around her anywhere she would want to go and would never complain. And you want to know why? Because he was always super efficient with his time. So while she was going shopping in the supermarket, he would actually be doing his own work in the car in the parking lot. He would wake up at, really, really early in the morning before anybody else would wake up. And he used to commute from where I live in Port Washington to New York City. And anybody who knows, to commute in the morning during high peak traffic hours is crazy. But guess what he did? He did something I thought which was amazing and remarkable. he would wake up earlier and drive into the city at like 5 o'clock in the morning before anybody else was on the road. And he would actually take his breakfast with him. He would drive, beating all the traffic, which what could take 1 or 2 hours. He was there in like 35 minutes. He would go to his office, he would eat, take a nap, and then wake up and be ready for work. It was like, oh my goodness, how come I didn't think about that? Or why don't people really do that? It's just a matter of being strong, being willing to have the discipline to do whatever it is in your life to get the mission accomplished. So that's who I wanted to share. Who would like to speak up and share who are the resilient people in your life? Don't be shy now. I may want to call on some people. Is it okay? And you could always say pass if you can't think of anybody. How about you, Henry? Do you have any people in your life that are resilient? Feel free to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I sure do. I was actually just about to raise my hand, so thanks for calling on me.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, my dad, he's really resilient. So he is a lawyer, and he
Mm,
actually just started getting into politics and running for office. He's running for a local school board election
mm,
in my town, and he has had a lot on his plate with work and school, and he also does community theater. And I've seen him get very overwhelmed, especially these last couple of months. But he's fought back really hard, and he's been really, really resilient. Like you said, kind of springing back into shape and kind of fighting through um, those moments of like what seemed to be him being very overworked and kind of pushing through it with resilience.
yeah, no, I love that. And it reminded me of two things. First of all, thanks so much for sharing that, Henry. And your dad sounds like a remarkable man. And despite all his work and everything he does, community theater, his own job, the fact that he's like, I'm gonna like get involved with the school board, right? Like let me get involved in what's happening in my community. I mean, there's so many different people that just says, I'm not taking that on, but to be of service, means a lot. And yes, you're right. Being resilient means popping back up with whatever happens. And we're going to be talking about in this presentation some best practices. How can you develop and be more resilient when life slams you down, when you're stressed out? I'll share some more ideas and feel free to post in the chat some of Henry, your dad's best practices on what you see his habits that makes him so resilient. I'm just going to read a comment from Kieran. Awesome. My parents are resilient because they were both immigrants coming to America from India. They both work hard to provide a life for me and my brother. One of the most, thanks for sharing, Kieran. The immigrants are known to be so hardworking, right? That really to come to this country and do whatever it takes in order to give their children a better life. And that's, even though there's a lot of criticism and a lot of victimization that's happening in our local politics about, the system is against us, racial injustice. And while that may be true in different circumstances, what's remarkable about America is that immigrants can still have the American dream and work so hard. And makes the big difference from all the different immigrants come is their level of hard work, right? The willing to sacrifice. And I often have meetings with all new members of Elected Society, and they always ask me, Tim, how do you budget your time? How do you accomplish everything that you want to accomplish? And I say the secret is prioritization, like, and just focusing on and sacrificing other things just to focus on that one thing. Yes, Kieran, we're all American citizens. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And I'll take one more comment. How about you, Susan? Are there any resilient people in your life that you think really inspire you, or you have some best practices or what you learned from them? Susan, are you there? You can unmute your microphone if you're available.
Sorry, I almost clicked leave. I'm like, wait a minute, I want to leave. I really, I don't know, other than my mother. I mean,
Well, tell me about your mother. Why is she so resilient to you? Tell me, what did she do?
well, she just is to me. I mean, she's just, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Well,
She,
she's been so supportive of you, even later on in life, when other
yes,
people would say, I don't care, you're an adult, do whatever you have to
yep,
do. again, I think that what makes your mom so resilient is the fact that she's willing to serve and help no matter what, you know?
Yes.
And for those of you who, again, people who are watching or listening to this presentation, we'll talk a little bit about spirituality, but again, people can be agnostic, atheist, Christian, Muslim, whatever it may be. I grew up in learning a lot about different Christian religions and reading the texts of Jesus and picking up his sayings. And sometimes people screw up, and there was a question that asked him, like, how many times should you forgive somebody? And the response is you should forgive them 7 times 7. Right? Is that, Susan, is that right? I wonder if you remember. Like, it's
70 times
70 times
70 times 7.
yeah. And that means people actually have to ask for forgiveness. So imagine how many times people just say, "Ah, I gave them 3 chances and I'm sick and tired of them, But it's a matter of, are they really asking for forgiveness? Do they really realize my mistakes? Are they asking for help? All the different lessons that I've learned. I used to judge people who used to go through financial hardships. I'm like, why didn't you be more responsible with your finances? But it was only until I tried to be an entrepreneur and had to struggle with finances, building up from nothing and not having a steady paycheck, that I'm like, wow, people who struggle with finances, they should get as much help as they can get, because it's very tough and it can be very scary sometimes. So, I went on a little bit of tangent, Susan, but I think we got that your mother is a very loving, forgiving kind of woman, right? Awesome.
Yes, yes.
All right, let's go to the rest of the presentation. So we're going to do a little exercise right now, again, because it's not all just about listening to Tim. I want you guys to actually do some work, right? And really reflect on this. There are 8 areas in your life, okay? And if you actually have a piece of paper, you could actually draw this big wheel, and you can write, just the initial for each of these areas of your life. And just think of it as a scale of 1 to 10. And you don't even need to draw the wheel. You can just actually write each key word of all these 8 areas of your life and rate yourself, scale to 1 to 10. Now, it's very difficult for me to share with you what would be an example of 1, what might be an example of 10, because everybody could be different, right? So it's going to be really up to you to decide where you would rate yourself. So I'm going to give everybody about, let's just say, 90 seconds, right? So that's like 10 seconds each to just like write down the word, write down the number, and rate yourself where you are. And the reason why we're doing this is because we want to see which are the most important areas that we would like to focus on 2024 to be excellent in that area of life. Okay, let's do that now. Starting now, go. 90 seconds. And by the way, I'm going to do the exercise with all of you as well. So and if you guys struggle, what number, just pop the first number that first comes to your mind. All right, I'm all done. If you're all done in the chat, hit done or write done so that, because according to my records, we have another 25 seconds. But if you're all done, I'll keep going with the rest of the presentation. Awesome. All right, 10 more seconds. If you're wrapping up, let's do it. Okay, so next, let's talk about each one of these areas of your life. So when it comes to your physical or your health, in order to be the most resilient, you would want to have a very strong muscles, a very healthy different system of your body to be able to be function, again, whatever capacity you may have. And then also physical and health has to relate to what you put in your body, nutrition. We're going to be talking about what you do mentally for your body in another area of your life. And so for me, I'm just going to share with you my best practices. Every year, I almost set a goal for myself of different things that I want to do. And here's a best practice for those of you who may struggle, like to exercise in 5 time, to do what you need to do. I think the best thing you should do, and this is, I talked about this other training is in level 1, is do little baby steps that doing it seems so easy that it's ridiculous that if you can't do it. See, I've developed the habit to actually work out basically about approximately 4 times a week. I didn't like to work out. I always find an excuse to work out. And so when more than one of your goals on this list that we're going to talk about, if you can accomplish one and it achieves 2 of your goals, you're more likely to complete that. So for me, one of my goals was to have more friendships and connections. And so I had a buddy that I used to work out with all the time. And so I said, maybe I can work out with him. And not only can we work out, which is achieving one of my goals, I can actually socialize with my buddy and friends and we can talk about movies. And so now, today, we actually meet up 4 times a week on the phone and we FaceTime each other and we work out together and we talk in between our sets. And it's very powerful. But so even though I can do that 4 times a week, I want to always surpass my goals or move to my next goal. So again, I'm pretty strong in terms of working out physically, but I don't do enough cardio, right? Which is healthy for my heart. I don't really like running, so I do like jump roping. So again, I know from the research it's ideal to do 20 minutes of cardio, or at least do it a lot more cardio if you want to lose weight, as long as you're watching what you eat. But 20 minutes on top of whatever I'm doing exercise just seems like overkill. So for me, my 2024 goals, I'm just going to add another 5 minutes of cardio. And if I'm feeling good and if I can do a little bit more, then maybe I can do a little bit more. And then the next thing in terms of nutrition, I am trying to eat more healthy, right? Like all of us are. So I'm already a vegetarian, lacto-ovo. So I've been cutting out dairy. That's been some of my goals from previous years. If any of you have seen my different trainings, I cut out a lot of pizza from buying it from Costco. I would buy frozen pizzas all the time. But now I have a salad every night. But how can I incorporate more legumes, right? So now I've been sprouting different vegetables like lentils and different sprouts like alfalfa and broccoli, but I need more protein, right? Like, what if I do chickpeas? So I used to buy cans of chickpeas and add them, but guess what? I'm also trying to save money, which we'll talk about in the other slide. So I actually bought a bag of dry chickpeas and I put them and I cook them in a pressure cooker for like 30 minutes and I store them in the refrigerator and now I'm adding them to my salad. So anything that you can do to kind of meal prep for your week and to eat healthier, I think you're going to be better off. Some of my best practices I'll share with you are on Sunday, putting it on my calendar to say what meals can I plan for the week. And so I just block off that time. Like, let me make a vegetable soup, right? And I'll buy frozen veggies. I'll buy vegetable broth. I may add some other stuff like onion and tomatoes and some potatoes, and boom, now I have a veggie soup. Add some seasoning. So feel free to post in the chat, or if anybody wants to comment on what they are doing in terms of their physical health goals, I'd love to see them and read them. Okay. Well, while those may be coming in, let's go on to the next goal. Well, actually, take about 10 seconds right now. What are going to be your physical and health goals for 2024? So I'll give you 10 seconds to think about that and write that down. All right, let's keep going. So the next is financial health. Now, it's very simple, right? There are only 3 major ways to actually have very good financial health and to be really resilient in terms of your finances. One is to significantly reduce your spending. Okay. Number 2 is find ways to make more money, which I guess a lot of us want, right? But if you're so focused on making more money and you're not reducing your spending, hey, listen, for the last 20 years that I've been in the working environment where I've made so much money in my life, I've made at one point 6-figure salary at my previous jobs. Well, guess what? The moment that you start to make more money, you find more and more things to spend that money on. So it almost feels like a never-ending cycle. So if you can develop the habit of reducing your spending to almost like a game, then a lot of the books on finances basically says live beneath your means, right? You could spend it lavishly, but then set that money aside to invest that, right? And if those people who don't know a lot about investing, one of the easiest thing is pulling money out of your checking account automatically so you don't see it, and it goes to like an S&P 500 account, which is the top, stock market companies all throughout the world that historically has beat on average every different kind of investor. It's a very, very safe and easy thing to do and invest money. So for me, throughout my life, I only really got control of my spending habits when I actually had to do the harsh thing, cut up all my credit cards. See, it's so tempting for credit cards to to spend it because you think, oh, I'm getting points. It's psychological. Oh, I'm going to get rewarded. But that's the whole point. Humans are simple creatures. We associate either something positive or negative. So if we associate something with positive, well, we're going to spend a lot more. But what I had to learn is that discipline is I, at one point in my life, cut up all my credit cards, and it was the necessary skill in order for me to develop. And I only just kept one in case of emergencies because sometimes you need that. And so now in my life, when I've been doing the entrepreneurial lifestyle, right, where I didn't have like a steady paycheck, I've had to see, and how could I live beneath with my means instead of buying canned soup or buying canned beans? Like I said, I'm making my own beans. So you'd be surprised how much money you can really save if you stop eating out, not buying food and making it at home. It's shocking and amazing. So for me, my 2024 spending goals is not eating out, okay? And it's not buying pizza. It's that also helps me with my health goals, right? And then in terms of the income level, how can you raise your revenue or your income? Well, if you're working, if you don't have a job, you might be applying for a job. We'll talk about that. But the other area is, well, how can I increase my value, right? How can I speak with my boss or ask, what can I do to increase my salary? And I'm going to send as an additional resource the training that I did on Professional Success 101. It's the first of the level 2 trainings. And at the end of the training, I show a video of Barbara Corcoran says, how do you actually speak and communicate with your job about getting a raise or increasing salary? It takes a lot of finesse and ways, but you should know it's the equivalent of going to a professor and say, hey, can you please ask me for the answers to the test because I really want to do well, right? But that's what you really have to do in a job to say, if you want to have increase your salary and revenue, you have to say, can you please tell me what can I do in order to increase my value and make more money at this company? And if they're a really good boss, they would love to show you do A, B, and C. And then if you do A, B, and C and you have the end of year evaluation, then that's great. Okay. So I'll send that. And so for me, what I've been noticing how I'm going to try to create more revenue is, have you ever noticed where you're doing something and then you keep trying at it and you keep doing it, but you don't get the results that you want, or you get partial results? For me, in terms of my business, which is like doing my Duffy leadership and speaking, where schools hire me to bring in as a speaker, whether it's either in person or Zoom, I'll reach out to like 30 different administrators, request meetings. And guess what? One or two says no. And then one or two might say, yes, Tim, I'm willing to meet up with you. And then I meet up with them. We have a great conversation. They're like, maybe now, maybe in the future. Or one might say, yes, Tim, yes, I'd love to bring you into my campus. So that makes me and generates a certain amount of income. But guess what? If I want to make much more and I want to have more speaking engagements, then I have to double my efforts. So instead of me reaching out, and that's why I wrote those numbers down, because it's very easy for us in any area of your life to actually create goals. The hardest part is to actually create the little baby step actions that are going to help us get to those goals. And so and for me, it's like I need to reach out to more administrators. It's not enough to reach out to 30. I'm not going to get the result that I want. So if I doubled that, well, then I'm going to get 60. And then I'll have maybe more meetings, and that's going to increase my opportunity. So bringing it down to those metrics, key in business, they call it the key performance indicators. And if you can master the discipline and block off time in your calendar, which I'm going to do, right? I'm going to say, I'm going to reach out to these more administrators, and that's going to be my priority. And it may mean sacrificing different areas of life. So instead of me going to bed late at night watching some of my shows, maybe I have to cut it off earlier to get to bed earlier so I can wake up and accomplish those actions. Again, the formula for success, it's just discipline. It's doing what you need to do and taking consistent action towards your goals. All right, feel free to post in the chat anything that you guys might be doing or best practices for you guys to be more resilient when it comes to either your personal health or your financial health. I'm going to keep going. The next is career and business. So many of you may be on different areas of your life in terms of non-traditional students, traditional students, people who've already graduated, or whatever it may be. So in terms of your career and business, there's really three things you can do. You can really apply for a new job, right? You could actually take on more responsibility, ask for a promotion at your current job, or maybe it's time for you to start your own side hustle, right? Maybe you want to start your own business. Maybe there's something you're really passionate about and you want to develop that more. I know a lot of people in elective society really care about service and making a difference. And I've done trainings on how to be a professional speaker, and maybe you have a story that you want to share with the world and maybe start getting more paid speaking engagements. I'm happy to help support you on that. Whatever that might be, it might be starting taking action now towards that, or developing a nonprofit. So on the left, I included a lot of different areas of different job boards that you can use in terms of applying for different jobs. I'm a big fan of LinkedIn because it's just the most common and well known, and you can actually work to help say, okay, where do I live? What are all the jobs in my area? Oh my gosh, there's 6,000 jobs. Okay, then I can actually narrow it down by saying, okay, what one keyword? Okay, I want it in this field. Okay, now I'm out to 500 jobs. So you can kind of do that, and it kind of really help you. Again, for those who are recent graduates, Handshake is very popular. I've never used it, so I can't speak to that. And then again, these are just all these different job boards that you can actually investigate, try. I'm going to actually, at the end of this presentation, create a PDF. I didn't upload it to the post assessment yet. So if you fill out the post assessment, don't worry, I'm going to email you the PDF of this whole PowerPoint presentation. But by tomorrow, anybody who fills out or watches the post assessment, when they click on it and says thank you, they'll see a Drive PDF link of this PowerPoint presentation. Okay. So for me, I already have my business, Duffy Leadership Incorporated, which is my speaking business. It's my own S corporation that helps me pay bills. And then I have my nonprofit, which is Electus Society. So for me, as you know, I have my own goals. Ever since the summer of 2023, I've been trying to grow Electus Society to have 600 members, and I've been taking action, right? But guess what happens? In order to do that, it takes resources and things and time. So I've been able to get up to 400 members. We got 300 within the last 2 years. And so now we already got 100, but that's 400. I still have 200 more to go. So I'm going to take consistent action to make that happen. And then also, there's a lot of technology I want to expand to. I want to hire and use an online accounting service to help track expenses and things like that, for bookkeeping, for developing financial statements. I want to expand the technology so that I can have a CRM and all this other kind of stuff. But I'm waiting for more members to join and for more people to donate and become ongoing founding members. And for those of you who don't know, some of you may already founding members, thank you, Kieran, who will help support financially by donating $5 a month to Electus Society. But there's a lot more of you that can contribute, and I would love to invite you, and you get access to all these other additional benefits. And for those of you who are college students that says, Tim, money's tight, well, guess what? You can actually choose an option to say $1 per month, because if you're on limited budgets, so that's something that's available to you as well. And so my goal is to get at least 40 founding members to help support the growth of Electus Society. So feel free to take 10 seconds right now. What goals are you going to have for your career or business in 2024? Do that right now. All right. And awesome. I'm seeing some comments in the chat. Susan, I love it that your personal goal is to lose 40 pounds. That's awesome. Financial, get a job, spend less. I love that. Kieran, in terms of career business, I would like to get a new job and get a master's. Excellent for personal strength training and being more consistent in the gym. Get stronger and healthy. Financial, continuing to invest and save money for future goals to move out and get my own apartment. I love that. I'm excited for you. And Susan, you've been searching for jobs and getting a few applications out. And so, just Susan, because you mentioned how you had a goal of wanting to lose 40 pounds, I actually want to share you something again, because this is all about of us sharing and talking about best practices in 2024 and being more resilient and achieving our goals. I have tried to lose weight. I have successfully lost about, I would say, 10 pounds within the last 6 months, which I'm very proud of. But one of the things that I didn't realize, and don't quote me on this, but do you know that 1 pound of fat is approximately, I think it's either 2,000 or 2,500 calories. So I couldn't believe that. So that means that you can reduce your calories every day for an entire week and say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to eat that muffin. I'm not going to eat that bread of toast or whatever it is. And every day you're so disciplined and you're like, haha, it's the weekend. I've been so good and disciplined. I'm going to have a cheese pizza. Let me have 4 slices. Yum, 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 yum. Do you realize just in those each calorie for a slice of pizza, depending on the size, is about 600 to 800 calories? And it's like, wow, in one sitting, you just ate all those calories for the entire week. And so sometimes people will go to the extremes and do like intermittent fasting. That actually really helped me where I was starting to lose weight. But depending on your health goals, talk with your doctor or whatever it may be. What I found is much more reasonable is if you actually set a goal of losing 1 pound per week, right? So not going crazy and also deciding to, skip a meal. Maybe it's, again, I'm not recommending that for you, Susan. I'm just saying this is what worked for me. And what ends up happening is I would fast, I would drink a lot of lemon water, and I would reduce my intake of different foods. And it's much more realistic to lose a pound a week versus I'm going to lose 10 pounds by, this time. And just notice that your weight could fluctuate. Okay, I just wanted to share that best practice. And then the last thing was I'm doing a Nutrisystem now. I've lost 18 pounds already. Congratulations, Susan. That's awesome. Okay. So let's talk about lifestyle and friends and community. All right. So for me, this is going to sound so sad, and this is a confessional of Tim Duffy. I have been accused for a long time by my wife. She's like, Tim, you catfished me. When I met you, you were so outgoing and gregarious. You were president of student government at college when we met, and I would love to hang out with people and socialize. And then she's like, what happened to you, Tim? All you want to do is stay home and work and be with your animals. And she's like, this is not the person I married. She teases me, but that has to go with what are those things that are really important to you. And whenever I talk with new members of Electa Society and we say, how are you successful? Well, I think it's actually very easy to be successful. You basically say, forget all the different areas of your life and you just focus on one thing and you do it completely, right? Some people do that with their business. They say, forget my health. I don't care. Forget my family. I don't care. Forget my relationships and friends. The hell with them. Forget my food. I don't care. I'm going to eat whatever it is. I'm just going to put it all in. Forget my sleep. And they go after it so focused and they achieve amazing things. But guess what? It's at the detriment of others. To me, the goal in life is to actually say, how can I be successful in all the areas of my life? And in order to do that, you have to choose and prioritize. And so for me, in order for me to accomplish what I wanted in my career, what I accomplished with creating Electa Society, where I have suffered, where it's been weak, has been my friendships and my community. I'm not on any social media. I'm not on Facebook. Even though I have accounts, I never look at them. And so I don't know what the hell is going on with different distant cousins that's going on in California or whatever it is, because I'm so focused on what I want to do. But I do realize the importance of having friends and community in someone's life because it uplifts you, because I can't just live like a hermit. And so what I have done is, like I said before, try to find where more than one goal can come together. Like I talked about hanging out with my friend Roy. So we working out and we talk about life. Well, I have two groups of friends that I really love, these couples. And guess what I do? I make a conscious effort to at least once a month schedule some time to hang out with them. I invite them over again because I don't want to eat out. I'll make homemade sandwiches for them and we just talk about life and stuff like that. And then also, for those of you who know who've gone through level 3 we talked about consciousness. There's a great documentary called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, CE5, and there's an own app. It's about a group of people that are interested in extraterrestrials, but connecting as peace ambassadors of the world. It's all about meditation, raising your consciousness. And I downloaded the app and I met some amazing people. And now, as a result, we reached out via phone, via Zoom. So I didn't want to know if they were crazy or anything like that. And they were amazing people that lived in my area. And now we've been friends. We've for over a year. And guess what? We do now. We meet up once a month at one of each other's houses, and we do a potluck, right? And we each bring some food, and we hang out. We talk about life, spirituality, and then we end the meeting with doing a meditation. And it's sending love and conscious to all the beings out in the universe. And some of us had some amazing experiences, which we don't have time to go into, but it's a great sense of community, and I love it. And so that's what my goal is in terms of continuing to do that, continuing to meet up once a month. And I do want to, meet with those friends, and I have to schedule it. So I invite you guys to do the same. So let me just read some of the different comments that you've written. Okay, lifestyle for Susan. I joined a church. Awesome. I'm doing some volunteer work due to the snowstorm. I missed church today. It's okay, Susan, but I keep in contact with my community online through Facebook Messenger. That's awesome. In terms of relationship with what loved ones, awesome. We're going to get to that section really close. Motivate my partner to achieve his dreams and goals. Whoa, what a great partner, Kieran. While I work on my own, I need more friends like Tim. Yes, you can join the CE5 app and try to find like-minded people who care about love and consciousness and peace, and that's a great thing to do. Or it could be any community. It could be evolved around bikes, people who love bike riding, people who love hiking. Find your community out there, and I think it's great. Henry, that's a goal of mine for 2024. I really want to hang out with my friends more and make more friends during the year. Yeah, to me, Henry, if you don't schedule it, right? If it's not taking this idea of, yeah, I want more friends, I want to hang out more time. If choose something that's so small and such a baby step that it's realistic, right? And then Kieran, I just said your note, friends have to be quality friends. Oh my goodness. Kieran, I could hug you. Like you're so right. I have actually um distanced myself from friends that I've had that I've known since, college or whatever it is. And, it's not because I don't like them. I don't care about them. It's you have to ask yourself the question, does this person bring me love and joy in my life? And I've encountered friends that even though we've known each other and they've been very helpful, well, guess what? I feel judged by them. I feel criticized by them. I feel a sense of competition with them. And it's not like in terms of healthy competition. I'm like, no, like when I want to be around people, I want people vibrating at the same frequencies that I'm vibrating. Everybody me, the possibility who I am is love, fun, and empowerment. And some friends that you have, and again, like I tell you, I only have two couples that I really, really connect with, right? And then I have some family members, but I just feel with those two couples of friends, I can talk about anything. And that's what you know is a good friend, where they don't judge you, you just listen to you, you can challenge each other. But if you're walking on eggshells, it's like, man, I want to talk about life. I want to talk about feelings. I want to talk about where I'm going. I want people to be supportive of me. So yes, Kieran, get high quality, not quantity. And yes, you've realized that over the years. Just be cautious of that, Henry. Okay, there must have been a comment from Henry. All right. Oh, yes, to hang out with a lot of different people. All right, awesome. Let's keep going. So take 10 seconds. Actually, I've already seen some of your comments. I'm going to go for the sake of time. Let's keep going. Mental health. That is so important. Now, in terms of mental health, there could be a lot of different things, and this can kind of overlap with spirituality because that's the next topic, which is talking about maybe meditation, clearing your mind. But in terms of mental health, what I decided is maybe there's a couple of areas where you can help achieve these goals and be more resilient. In terms of mental, you need to actually feed your mind. You need to be learning and growing. So that means reading books or listening to audiobooks or listening to very productive podcasts that are feeding you life and information that inspires you to do amazing things. And so because a lot of you are part of this community because you're interested in success and interested in leadership, there's so many success books out there on different topics. And as you know, once I complete all the level 3 trainings, we're going to go back to doing a training once a month about some kind of positive topic on success or leadership. And I'm also inviting Elective Society members, if they want to actually host a training and work with me on doing one leadership library series like we've done in the past, please do so. And you can actually facilitate the training. I would say read books, right? And my favorite leadership book is Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. And the reason why I love that one so much is because if you're really interested in leadership, it really talks about, hey, we need character developed leadership, not personality leadership, because that's what we see a lot out there, where it's all about looking good, remembering people's name. Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You need that base of integrity and great character in order to be a great leader. Again, a lot of the themes of Elective Society. And every time I read it, it's just so much more information. In terms of mental, there's also the gratitude journal. This is what I highlighted in the level 1 training called the biggest challenge leaders face and mastering success habits, because every single question in the gratitude journal is what is sets you up for success in terms of your mental health, right? How can you review your day? How was yesterday? What did you learn? What were your biggest highlights? You're like, oh my goodness, amazing. I did all this amazing. This is what an amazing thing happened to me yesterday. Suddenly, if you ever in a funk, you're like, wow, I did learn a lot yesterday. Oh, that was great meeting those people. You need that kind of review and to process and to see, okay, what are your goals for today, right? Oh, now I need to really write down my priorities, make a star, circle it. I'm not going to do anything else starting off my day until I do the most important thing first. All right, what are your affirmations? I am love, I am the light, I am fun, I am empowerment, whatever it is, I am abundance, whatever those affirmations are, you're now training your mind to manifest those things and to attract those things so that those come into different actions. And again, all the gratitude is the right attitude. What am I grateful for? Wherever you are in your life, however poor you may be, overweight you may be, whatever it is, there's always somebody else that could be so much worse than where you are right now. Okay. There are so many people across the world that would beg and would sell, that would cut off their left arm just to actually be a poor person in the United States, like because of our opportunities and things like that. So again, we can get really down a negative path with all of that. And so doing that every day is going to set you up. Having therapy sessions, doing some psychoanalysis. Again, I've done so much therapy over the years, and it's been so beneficial to me because you need somebody to help guide you. Why are you triggered by that person? Why are you triggered by those events? Let's go back into your childhood. What significant event happened for you? Can you release that emotional baggage? Can you love your inner child and let go of the past? Can you forgive? Can you get your anger out? Therapists help you navigate life. And so it's nice to have somebody who can be objective, that is not like your loved one or partner, because it's harder to listen to them because you might say, well, that's your issue, not my issue, as I've had through my experience. And then also what you could do is you can join self-help programs. I've talked to you guys so many times about Landmark Worldwide. That's the program. It was like, $600+ for one weekend, and it just transformed my life and my relationship with my wife. And it helped me develop my leadership skills so much. So it doesn't have to be that one, but guess what? You could join some other kind of conference where people are coming together like-minded, learning about something, whether it's entrepreneurship or whatever it might be. And if you don't have the money to do that, well, guess what? Maybe you can join some free webinars online, right? Do some searching, look on LinkedIn, search topics and stuff like that. Okay. Let me just read a couple of the comments. In terms of friends and community, Kieran, I need to be more quality friends, stay in touch with them after school and participate in events. Volunteer. Yes, volunteer is really big with students and time. One of the best things that I ever did with Landmark Worldwide is they had the Landmark Forum, which was that 3-day event. And then once you complete that event, then they had like offered free because your world is rocked, right? You start to discover why you do the things that you need to do and what are your limiting beliefs that are preventing you from achieving the things you want in your life. And I got so rocked emotionally from that event that they offer a 10 free week course where you meet up once a week to talk about the things you learned at the Landmark Forum, and then you join together with a group of like 5 or 6 people. And again, could be all either virtually or in person. There's centers all around the world, and that can develop new network, new friends, and things like that. And I also eventually volunteered for them to help coach the coaches in those different programs. And some of the best friends that I've ever met in my life were because I volunteered. So that's awesome. Thanks, Kieran. Susan, continue with therapy appointments. I love it. Keeping Christian journal, read a good Christian style book. Yes, absolutely. That's going to get to our next theme, which is spiritual. And by the way, this is where my goals. I speak Spanish, but I want to improve my Spanish ability so that it stays strong. I actually want to convert all the Elective Society trainings into Spanish. And so in order to do that, to stimulate my brain and develop that muscle so that it's strong, I want to read a Spanish book at least once a day. And then also a self-help book about whatever topic. It may be about marketing or whatever. So that's just mine. Feel free to write down what mental goals you guys are having in the chat. But like Susan said, reading spiritual books, any kind of Christian book or whatever. Listen, for those of you who are atheists or agnostic, it doesn't have to be a spiritual book about any type of religion. It could just be something positive, right? About mental health. It could be adventures of a hero's journey that talks about somebody overcoming the obstacles and inspiring you. But in terms of me personally, I love reading spiritual texts because I love studying all the different religions of the world. I've read the Bible. As you know, my next goals are going to be read the Bhagavad Gita, excuse me if I'm not pronouncing it correctly, the Quran, all these different texts. I'm fascinated by them. So I want to continue to read them because I think it's a great way to start the day with some inspiration. The other thing that I'm working on is meditation, right? So as you all know, whenever I do my gratitude journal, right when I'm done, that's when I actually do my meditation. And my meditation can anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes. But again, my goal is to do it 3 times a day, right? Morning, afternoon, and at nighttime. And the areas right now, I've gotten to the point where I do meditate at least 3 times a day, even if it's for a minute, because what I'm doing many times is where I'm at my spiritual development is I'm starting to recognize that the bigger games that you play, the bigger challenges, the more mental stress that could happen. And the more responsible you have to be with clearing your mind and meditating, right? Just imagine if I was the president of the United States and there was all these things, I would definitely make sure I meditated because guess what? You need that mental clarity to all the kind of stress to get out of your head so you can be clear and present. And so for me, I've been meditating where I either go outside, I face the sun, I say some affirmations, I envision like a violet, like purple flame consuming all around me, burning any kind of negative emotions or thoughts, and I blow it out like almost like I'm on fire, right? Like it's the visualization because I'm making a conscious choice to get rid of whatever's on my mind. I could be stressing about whatever it may be, work, job, money, whatever it may be. And the moment that I just do that, and I'm like, okay, time to clean myself out. I'm blowing it out, saying my affirmations. Guess what? I was going down a negative spiral of negative thinking, and within 1 minute, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Tim, you feel like $1 million. You're about to conquer the world. Let's go make those phone calls. Let's go send out those emails. Like, let's get it done." Because you feel so empowered. You connected with your higher self. And it's like an infinite battery or energy resource that we didn't tap into. So that's my invitation to all you. And I want to keep doing that and I want to do more of it. So right now, I've been doing it for about a minute, but I want to do it for at least a minute, but I want to stretch it to do about 5 minutes. Okay. So Great. And then I'm just also reading, Susan, in terms of read the Bible throughout the year, write one verse in the Bible per day, and do at least 2 Bible plans on the Bible. I love it. Okay. So now let's talk about family. Okay. Oh, wait, 10 seconds. All right. Susan wrote down her spiritual goals, but write down what you might be and take on as some spiritual goals for you. All right. So I'll give you 10 seconds right now. Go. All right. Let's keep going. So family goals, right? That's a very important aspect of your life is your family. So for me, what do I do for family? Of course, I have my wife and my pets and stuff like that. And the quality time that I do is after a long day, I like to sit on the couch with my wife. We watch a TV show or something funny, something positive. Right now, we're watching the Netflix show You Are What You Eat, right? About all these different twins and trying the two different diets and, promoting a predominantly plant-based diet. So again, we're enjoying that. But also, I have other extended family. I have a sister-in-law, and they have a husband, and she has a husband and little kids that are so adorable. And it's so important to have family. So it's like, how do we spend time with them? Well, I love to make beans because, as you know, I try to save money. Instead of buying beans, I make my own homemade beans. Email me if you guys want my recipe. And so what ends up happening is I make refried beans. My sister-in-law buys the ingredients. My mother-in-law shreds up like cabbage with lemon and olive oil and tomatoes, and we bring, my sister-in-law shreds the cheese, and we all come together for Taco Tuesday, and we all eat and share and talk about stories, and it's just a great time to connect. And I want to keep and maintaining that because it's me a way connecting with my nephews. But what's also a goal for mine, I miss my family. I have family spread out all over the country. And so we used to do big family reunions, but because of, I've been, focused on budget and savings and things like that, that can be very expensive. I do want to get to a place where we can actually have another, some type of annual reunion. So that's my goal by the end of 2024. Okay. So take 10 seconds right now. What kind of goals would you want to have and achieve for your family so that it's very strong for 2024? Do that now. All right. Okay. So now let's talk about relationship with loved ones. Now, some of you may be listening to this training or presentation like, Tim, I don't have a loved one. I don't have a partner or a mate. I don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend, someone to call, watch movies with or whatever it may be. Well, then guess what? Maybe your might goal be, I need to get on some dating apps. I need to talk with some family members and start introducing me and start doing some volunteer work at different areas to start meeting more people, right? Dating apps are the predominant way most people connect and meet out now. But it's unfortunate with the dating apps is because you're making superficial decisions based on people of just what they look, what they do, and swipe left, swipe right. You're not actually getting that person. You could be missing out on soulmates just because you're being so superficial, right? And it's very tough. So I think that you can find different ways, churches, communities, volunteering, to really get to know people. Who knows? Your soulmate just might be one friend away. And what's so interesting, I'm in my for those of you who don't know, I'm happy to share my age. I'm 40 years old. And so I have a lot of friends, and my wife has a lot of friends who are around this age, and some of them are struggling to find partnerships. And wherever you are in terms of finding your partnerships, well, guess what? Um, it's tough. And so what I really want to, what I'm always surprised by is if you're a good catch, whether guy, girl, whatever, I'm so shocked by my wife and all of her friends, like, "Oh, I know the perfect person for you." It's almost like the moment they meet somebody nice, they just can't wait to introduce you to other people because most people want you to see you to have somebody to love and share time with. So, again, maybe you still need to do some work on yourself, go to therapy, whatever. But set that as your goal if that's what you're interested. And if you're not interested in a relationship, fine. Okay, maybe your loved one might be a cat or a dog. I don't care. There's no judgment. Some people might get more love from animals than they do from any other partner. I won't judge them. For me, I have my wife. I love her very much. We've been through a roller coaster of different stuff, as all of you know who've watched all the trainings of Elective Society, but I'm really happy. But that means I need to have quality time with her. So I have scheduled on my calendar date night with my wife, and it just means that I won't schedule anything else beyond our time. And it's also can be very easy for us to, like, go to the movies or whatever, but some of the best things that we can really do is just talk, right? Even if it's just making dinner together, we'll have amazing conversations, talk about life. It's just having that quality time, as Kieran mentioned before, right? It's more about quality than anything else. Okay. So let's keep going. All right. So again, relationship with loved one, take 10 seconds. Well, thanks, Kieran, for the awe. If that was for me. Or maybe you could for someone else. Take 10 seconds right now. What is the relationship goal that you want to have for 2024 that you can have with a loved one? Take 10 seconds right now. Go. All right. Okay. That was the 8 areas of your life. Okay. So now let's talk about developing resilience in your home. Now, like I said, there is a TV show. I don't know if you all have seen it. It's called The Last of Us. It was based on a video game, a very like apocalyptic type of thing, in which fungus, it's not a virus that takes over the world, it's a fungus, and people are almost like zombie-like. And guess who's the one who actually survives? It's this guy named Joel, and he has this whole compound, and he has all this stuff, guns, ammunition, food, and someone says to him, "Hey, so Joel, so what are you, a prepper or something?" Or that's what Joel asked Bill, this guy who's played by this character from, some of you may or recognize him from The Office. No, not The Office, Parks and Recreation. Is that he says, "No, I'm not a doomsday prepper or something like that. I'm a survivalist." And I just love that line, and I thought I would share that with you. I do believe that, there's that story of the ant and the grasshopper. The ant is the one who actually has the discipline, is prepared for all the contingency, versus the grasshopper, who is very lazy, doesn't want to do anything, and when the winter comes, begs, the ant to, have some of his supplies so that he doesn't starve over the winter. Again, depending on different versions of the story, I don't know if the grasshopper eats the ant or whatever it may be, but that's a possibility too. Defense is something to consider. But I want to share with you my experience and the lessons I learned, because I grew up in poverty when I was very young. I didn't have access to a lot of resources, so I was naturally gravitated towards this doomsday prepper, because again, if you didn't have a lot of certainty in your life, well, guess what? Being a prepper means I'm going to be prepared for anything, so nothing can harm me. So it was coming from a deep emotional place, but I did it for a couple of years and I realized this is not for me. And as I evolved spiritually and as I followed these best practices, there's certain lessons that I learned that I wanted to share with all of you as well. And some of it's very helpful and beneficial. So again, any of you who've seen some of these doomsday preppers, again, they're expecting World War III. They have gas masks, and they have bunkers underneath their house. I don't think you need to go that crazy, because the likelihood of that happening, as you may know, is very, very low. But some people do that. Good for them, that they can do that. But here's the first lesson that I wanted to realize. When I was part of this prepper community, every YouTube video would pop up. It was so much of it was based on fear. Oh my goodness, World War III is coming. Get ready. Uh-oh, watch out. Something big's going to happen. Stockpile all your stuff. There's going to be a nuclear disaster. The cataclysm consequences are coming. Uh-oh, the SHTF is the poop hit the fan. Okay. And you have to stockpile these foods now before everyone, takes them, and they're going to make this stuff illegal, and you better get it now before it's gone. It's like, oh my goodness, this is not a very positive or constructive thing. If you're constantly focused on this, then are you actually going to try to bring this into reality? Remember level 3 training 1, where I talked about, and I shared a YouTube clip with all the members. What is consciousness? Consciousness is your thoughts and your feelings create your reality. And the more you focus on constructive thoughts and constructive feelings, you're going to create that reality. If you focused on negative thoughts and negative feelings, you're going to create a negative reality. So again, I didn't think this was very constructive, and it could be very depressing and not vibrating at a high level. Okay. So guess what the data says is the most probable threat of what you're going to die from? Yes, it's heart attacks. It's the number one thing that they should show on these prepper videos. That's like, we want to prevent you from dying. What's the number thing that we want you to do? Is exercise and eat a plant-based predominantly diet so that you can, live a long time and not die from heart disease and all this other kind of stuff. That's what they should be showing as the real probable threats. Here, let me actually show you what the statistics are. I noticed, Susan, where's the toilet paper? Oh my goodness, the COVID pandemic, and everybody was obsessed with stockpiling toilet paper. It gave people to do something when they felt helpless. I'd much rather you have a stockpile of at least a month of supply of stuff so you don't have to be those people that runs to the supermarket wherever there's a storm or freaking out. So none of that. So here's a website that talks about, here is actual data on what is the probability of you dying from something. And guess what? The number one reason that people are going to die from is from heart disease, meaning the food and the high saturated fats that they put into their mouth and the lack of exercise to help strengthen their heart. That's the number one. Okay. And I think what's also missing on here is all the other heart disease and diet related things that people are dying from, including Alzheimer's, which is, as any of you guys know, your diet significantly affects whether you get Alzheimer's or not. Eating a predominantly plant-based diet and legumes, and eating high essential fatty oils like in flax seeds and chia seeds. Some even say some fish oils as well, because it's from the photosynthesis of some of the plankton and algae that the fishes consume, that's so good for you, for your health and for your mental health. But anyway, I digress. Cancer, 1 in 7 will die from it. COVID-19, why did most people die from COVID-19? High stress, right? They were very fear-based. Obesity, right? Pre-existing conditions and things like that. Again, those were people at bigger risk for dying of COVID-19, right? All preventable causes of death. Again, I'm assuming that must mean smoking and things like that. Chronic lower respiratory diseases. Now we start to get into other causes of death. Opioids, right? Pain medicines, guns, right? Guns assault, accidental gun discharges, suicides, right? That's actually even higher. I don't know why they put guns right here. I guess they include all intent, but the most worrisome is having guns in the households of people not having strong mental health, that they feel like the only answer that they have to do is to leave this earth. Again, that's a big problem. That could cause people to die. Motor vehicle crashes. So getting in your car is more dangerous than all these World War III cataclysmic disasters. Walking, a pedestrian incident hitting you, a motorcycle can be very dangerous. Drowning. So if you don't know how to swim, you should learn how to swim. That will save you 1 in 1,000 chance of dying. So do you see how the prepper community is so worried about things that are statistically not likely to happen? And so let me show you the next slide. This is where we're going to start to see where some of the prepper community has some stuff. Okay, fire or smoke. Well, that is important. So yes, you should have fire extinguishers in your house. You should have fire alarms and stuff like that. Choking on food, okay. Bicycle accidents, okay, wear your helmets, be very careful. Sunstrokes, okay, people should be protective clothing and not go out in the sun too much. Do get some vitamin D. Electrocution. So now we come to what the preppers are really focused on: cataclysmic storms. Oh my goodness, tornado, hurricane. Chances of you dying from a hurricane or a cataclysm storm is 1 in 20,000. Can you believe this stuff? All right. Let's see. That was funny, Susan. I just saw your comment. No risk of sunstroke in New York right now. Of course, sun's down, cold, snowing. For those of you who are in other parts of the US, that's where it is right now in the New York Northeast area. Sharp objects, hot surfaces, dog attacks, hornets or bee stings could kill people. Now, lightning, railroad passenger on an airplane. Where do you see statistically that you're going to die from a nuclear fallout or war or something like that to happen? Again, I believe this is US deaths. I'm not sure if this is US or the whole world, but this is the real threats that people need to focus on. Your health, your number one focus. Okay. So there is something very beneficial though that I learned in this kind of resilience community. It is, do you want to be resilient in your own home? And I'm like, you know what? I do want to be resilient in your own home. And there are 8 areas that you can actually be more resilient in. One of them is having good shelter and energy and backup resources of energy, all right, in case the electricity goes out, in case there is a storm, do you have another place or way or storm to actually take shelter? That's important. Do you have access to water, right? We're so used to having a tap that says, I can get water anytime I want. Now, the prepper community will talk about all the different things. Oh, well, what happens if the grid goes down? What happens if we lose electricity, right? Now, again, they're so focused on EMPs, right? Like some other, terrorist group wiping at us out, causing chaos. But we do need electricity. Most communities, if you're not getting water from a well, they probably pump water in and they put it up in some of those big towers that you might see in your different neighborhood, and that water slowly trickles down from gravity to go to all the houses, and that's how you have that water pressure. But if they don't have pumps and electricities to pump that water up, well, guess what? If there was a power outage and they needed to replace parts or it was damaged, you could be several days without water until that was fixed. So I do think it's important to have some water reserves. Food, I think, is important, right? Medical and hygiene. What if something happens? COVID might be a perfect example, or you're traveling. Isn't it important to have medicine, stuff that you take on a regular basis, and to have a little backup in case, oh, I go to the pharmacy. Oh, I'm so sorry. We ran out of that medicine. You have to come back with us in a week or two. Like, week or two, I need that medicine for my health. So, again, there's some good things that I've learned from the prepper community to be aware of. Safety and security. Okay, get it. There's a lot that we can talk about here in terms of, and I'll talk more about it. It's not about just being safe. It's also creating the visual that of safety and security, that criminals are less likely to go after people and homes and different areas that do have some security systems because they want to target easy victims. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Communication, if cell phones, anybody who is alive in different disasters that have happened, sometimes whenever there's a disaster or storm, people are trying to call you left and right. Is everybody okay? If so many people are calling these cell towers, nobody can get through. So do you have an alternative way to communicate with people? Documentation, right? Have some area where you can have legal, insurance, all that stuff. And bugging out means in case of emergency, could you have all the materials you need to get out of the house really quickly, right? Let's say it's a fire, let's say, emergency, whatever it may be. So again, I think these are very good things for us to talk about and do. So let's talk about shelter and energy lessons. Again, most of you probably live in a home or an apartment, but the thing to ask yourself is, do I have an alternative place to go in terms of an emergency, right? Places, energy. Some people like even have mobile homes and things like that, or something that they can attach to the trailer of the car. I'm not saying you need to bug out and need to have a RV and be able to drive and go anywhere in the country in case of natural disaster. But one of the things that I started learning in this resilience community is RVs don't have a lot of high value. You want to know why? Because the engines could die off after many years. The better thing is to have a truck that you can pull something that can be some kind of living quarters in case you wanted it. So I thought that was very interesting and insightful. The most important thing that for you to do is to have energy sources as backup. Now, here's what they don't tell you when it comes to backup energy. Let me just take a drink and say, ooh. Their Tesla has these power wall backups in case of an emergency that sometimes could be tied to your solar generators. Some people buy gas generators, but guess what? They don't tell you. Like, oh, in the case of emergency, have a generator and you can just buy fuel and fill it up. do you know that these generators are loud as hell? And they go, and it's like your poor dogs and neighbors, they're so freaking loud. Not only are they loud, if they take gasoline or propane, guess what? That means they have exhaust. You can't keep this energy powerhouse source in your house. Then they have these little mobile like devices that are battery charged and they can have a little output, but they may, depending on the size, they may cost $1,000, $2,000. What are you going to connect your refrigerator to it? Because if the power goes out, that's the first thing you're thinking about. Can I stay warm? Can my food still stay cold so it doesn't go bad? Will this do enough? It probably not. This might just be for your cell phone use or something like that. The best thing for you to do is to have a generator, right? Of a size that in case there's a storm, it turns on automatically and powers your house. And so again, this is a 20 kilowatt generator. Right now we have one in our home. Ours was 20 years old, and so we had to replace it. It cost about, I live in New York, so things are a little bit more expensive here. It was about $7,000. It was a lot. My wife, saved a lot of money to be able to even purchase this thing, but we felt that it was necessary for us to have because it provides us a sense of protection that all our frozen food, we have a freezer full of cat food that we buy special for one of our cats. If we lost that, that's hundreds of dollars just wasted. So again, we use natural gas and it's connected directly and it runs a test like once a week for like 10 minutes. And guess what? It's so good. I highly recommend that people have something like that if they have a home or eventually get a home that they can have that. Okay. Awesome, Susan. I love that you have a generator at your home. The next thing is water. Okay, so in the prepper community, they all talk about water. Oh my goodness, you have to get a life straw. That means in case of emergency, if you're in the anywhere, you can drink dirty water and you'll be able to survive. Okay, well, first of all, I bought one of these. I've never used it. Even in terms of camping, I don't want to put a straw in dirty water, but if I was hiking and stuff like that, yeah, it makes sense. But I didn't know something about water. Did you know that water goes bad? I'm like, what? Water goes bad? Yes, it has to be. If you buy 1 gallon thing of water, it's only useful for a couple years, or if you filled up a jug. And so there is something called these blue cans that has preserved water that can last for 50 years. But guess what? It's only 1 can. And this is the thing that surprised me. In order for you, if you had the water shut off, for one day of an emergency, each person needs 2 gallons of water. One of that gallon is so that they can drink, and the other gallon is for everything else, for cooking, for brushing their teeth, for going to the bathroom, for cleaning, whatever it may be. You need 2 gallons of water in just one day. So if they say there was a major storm, how many days do you have of water in a case of emergency? And so I started to realize, wow, you need this many gallons of water if you actually had 5 days without electricity. And that's just for one person, right? So that's 2 times 5 is 10 gallons of water. But what if you actually have a family? Oh my goodness, that means 10 gallons would only last you a day. But if you are without electricity or something happens and the water system goes down, well, guess what? You need this amount of gallons, right, for a family for 5 days. Look at all those gallons of water, and that takes up a lot of space. And not only does it go bad, so I discovered that there is something that's really cool that was invented. This is, I believe, a Californian company where if you have a garden or whatever, you need to constantly have drinking water because you could technically drink from the water from your hose, but they have this container called Waterful and it stores 30 gallons of water. And every time you water the grass or water your lawn, it recirculates the water so that it's fresh every time. So if anything happens and the water shuts off, well, guess what? You have 30 gallons of fresh water ready to use at any moment. And so I live in the Northeast where there was a lot of storms. So what I can tell you is this is not weatherproof. Like it's not meant for snow and very cold. So if I do plan on getting one of these, I have not got one yet. It's like about somewhere between like $500, $600. I do plan on keeping it in my garage, but that just means that the hose that's attached to it, I need to have that hose be going outside some way because I want to make sure that I water some plants with that water so it's fresh water going through in all the time. They're currently out of stock because so many people love them and want them, but I've been added to the wait list to be notified when they come in. So again, I think it's a really cool thing. Think of water and the word full, it's a water full unit, okay? The next thing is water purification. You need to have clean water. So I'm going to recommend reverse osmosis water, or you can also get a whole house water filtration, but I'm going to share more about that at the end of the presentation. And then again, these prepper communities, they wanted me to get a year full of food, and you know what this means? For one person, you would need 800 pounds of grains, 240 pounds of beans, 10 quarts of oil, 120 pounds of sweetener, 20 pounds of meat. Well, I don't eat meat, but this is crazy. 90 pounds of dry fruit, 25 pounds of beverage, 50 pounds of milk, and also spices because you got to cook the food. It has to taste good. So to me, I was like, wow, you end up having all this stuff, and you can actually buy these pre-packaged foods, but guess what? They're so full of sodium, and some of them taste terrible. And then they kept telling me, okay, Tim, you know what? You can get a vacuum seal machine or oxygen absorbers, and you fill this with rice, and you get these little mylar bags, and then you seal them up, and you put these oxygen absorbers in there, and that food will last for 30 years, right? If you use white rice or oats or pasta. And so I did all this stuff. Can you believe it? And guess what happened? They would say, oh, you need to get food grade buckets. But guess what started to happen? Once I started vacuum sealing all this stuff in these Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, they couldn't fit in the round buckets because round buckets are not very efficient. And I'm like, why the hell did I buy all these round buckets when I could have gone to Costco, bought this big bucket for $5 or $10, and I could have stuffed everything in there. So again, this is just my learning lessons. A lot of this stuff tastes terrible, so you have to try it to see even if you like it, because if it's in these what they're called number 10 cans, they're freeze dried, they're packed, they have oxygen absorbers, they'll last for 30 years, but they taste such high sodium. My wife can't eat all that sodium and stuff like that. I could maybe tolerate it, but not really good for you. Okay. So here's what my recommendations are. It's always nice to have food as a backup. So if you like peanut butter, well, then why don't you buy a couple peanut butter, and as you use one, then you get one off your shelf, right? And as you leave and use that up one, you pull the other one from your shelf. And then when you go to Costco or your supermarket, you buy another one. So you just keep a little stock, a little ahead, so that in case of an emergency, you have backup food. It's that simple. And then the second thing that I learned is, do you know that canned food lasts forever? It lasts forever. I could open up a can of food, of corn or dry or fruit that's 100 years old, and I can eat it and it's edible, right? I will not get sick as long as it's not been pierced or contaminated. Guess what? Over time, the food will degrade. It may lose some color, but I won't starve, right? So that was a very important thing. And I think it's more important to have stuff in your freezer, right? Because again, you can have a lot of frozen food that you like, that you enjoy, and the freezer will keep it for 1 to 3 years or whatever it may be. 1 to 2 years, you'll have all the food that you need. Okay. So let's keep going. All right. Now, let's talk about food and garden. So again, I was all about prepper. They keep saying you need your own garden. You have to have your own food for resilience. Guess what I did? I created all these raised beds and I started planting. Do you know how hard gardening is? It is freaking really, really hard. That means out of all the plants that you'll plant, 50% of them will fail, like, because there's such a big learning curve. And then did you know that bugs on all these birds and everything, squirrels eat all your vegetables and fruits and stuff like that? So if you noticed in this map, they had to actually have like a netting. Like I had to cover my fruit tree with netting because one year the squirrel ate it all. And I'm like, this is so much work. And then they say, oh, you can start your plants indoors and with soil, and you can start to grow all throughout the year. Yeah, but did you know how long it takes to actually grow some lettuce leaf? And did you know when you have your soil in-house, there's all these little bugs, and you have to get these little sticky mats, otherwise you're gonna have gnats flying all around your house? I'm like, oh my goodness. So here's some lessons that I learned that I think I could help you. I do think it's important to have a garden if you can. You develop some skills, but it's very pretty to have a wooden garden. But if you want it to last forever, you use cement blocks, right? Because all this wood, even if it's treated wood, it will eventually rot. And I'm a big fan of sprouting, right? You don't have to have any soil whatsoever. You buy seeds, you put it in some water, and guess what? You can add these fresh, nutritious, highly enriched foods as part of your diet, right? So you can buy these big wide mouth jars and these stainless steel little mesh lids. And I put mine on my dish rack. And this is what I literally buy. I buy a package of these organic seeds that contains broccoli and all this other stuff, radish, alfalfa. It lasts for over 4 years. And I even buy green lentils, organic green lentils. And I do it the same way. Put it in a jar. I put a couple of teaspoons. I rinse it in the morning and then at night with water, and after 3 or 4 days, boom, I have all these healthy, nutritious things that I add to my salad. So again, just some ideas for all of you. Security, again, it's always important, especially if you're a female and that you walk around and feel safe. One of the things that you can do is buy a pepper spray because again, it's a way about keeping people distance from you. And what I'm really happy about now is for some of the new pepper sprays is that they have a lock device mechanism on it. So it's a lot harder to just open it up and press it, but it's less likely for you to accidentally press it or move it and go off in the middle of your purse versus something that's going to happen. So again, I've had that for my wife in case of emergency. It's nice to have it in your purse or in your car. The whole point is you never want to use this stuff. The whole point is if you were ever scared or fearful that you could have something that can keep predators or something or whatever at bay. Okay. The next thing is security cameras. Again, if people or criminals see cameras or whatever, they don't want to go after your property, right? Having a gun is a very big topic and it can be very controversial. The reason why it's so controversial is if you notice the statistics, if you have a gun in your house, you're more likely not to use that against a criminal or somebody trying coming in. You're more likely to have it used by a family member or a child. So you have to really think about, do you really want a gun in the household? And I'm not going to make that decision for you. It's up to you, in terms of if you want that protection. I'm not going to judge you for it. But it is important that if you do, you have a lock, right? And make sure that it's protected and that it's not accessed and that you use it responsibly and you get trained for it. So don't get a gun if you're not going to be trained and know how to use it. Okay. Medical and hygiene, yes, you can have an emergency, bin for the bathroom. Again, that's great for camping, having a little extra prescriptions, first aid kits, but I'm a big fan of the OSHA first aid kit because it has a lot more stuff. It has, not antibiotics, it has antacids, aspirins, all these other stuff. It can do a lot more things than the traditional first aid kits that are like garbage. They just have some band-aids and some gauze. Like it's not, you'd want a little bit more in case of an emergencies. So I'm a big fan of that. Communication, having two-way radios in case the cellular reception goes down. They can have a 36-mile range. I haven't yet tried these with my wife. We have some, but she goes to and works in New York City, which is less than like 30 miles away. I'm really curious for us to try it. That will be my goal for 2024 is for us to test it out in case there's an emergency and the cellular reception is down. Could we actually communicate into these walkie-talkies? But otherwise, you can use them for camping or whatever it is. Okay. And then documentation. All right, having life insurance is important. Having homeowners insurance, having disability insurance. Something that happen to you. Is your family protected? What about your pets? Do you have all their shots and immunizations? Do you have all your emergency contact? Do you have photos? This is some really cool stuff that I learned from the prepper community. And one of the other big things of the type of insurance to have is great is umbrella insurance. That is a very important thing to actually say, what if you're sued for something? Do you have that actual protection? That is something important. So, what about bugging out? This is a funny thing that has to deal with bugging out because when it comes to bugging out, the chances of you having to like escape your home in an emergency is very, very low. But here's what I'm going to tell you with the biggest benefit that I had in terms of bugging out is that when I bugged out and I created a bag for myself and for my wife. We never used them. And it's just nice to have them for like toiletries and stuff, because do you want to know when I did use them? When I had to travel, I'm like, oh, I have to get all my toiletries together. I'm like, oh, why don't I just use my bug out bag? That's perfect. I already have clothes in there and toiletries. And I remember my wife needed feminine products, and she's like, oh, I have to go to the store to get the feminine hygiene products. I'm like, wait a minute, why don't we just go into those bug out bags that we have and use those? And so we just saved ourselves a trip, in terms of going out. So I just find it just convenience for an emergency. So you never panicking last minute. And when it comes to food, some of these come with emergency food ration bars, like the SOS is a popular company. These were terrible. They were disgusting. I try to eat these, I spit it out. They're awful. No one ever tells you, "Oh, I have emergency food." Yeah, but you don't want to eat it in an emergency. Yeah, you'll starve. But they also make this brand called Millennial Bars. And these are pretty good because all they are is like sugar cookie that has a flavoring, whether it's blueberry, lemon, or vanilla. I tried the vanilla one, and I just keep them in my car, which we'll talk about in case of emergency. I would give it a score of, in terms of deliciousness, a 7 out of 10. That's fine. I'll probably never eat them, but if I was starving, if I was in my car or something like that, it's nice to know that I have them. That's it. Okay. This is, to me, is the most important. If you have a car, is to have a bug out bag in your car, because you're more likely to be stranded or do something. What if you go without cellular reception? I think it's important for you to have an atlas that has all the roads, having some emergency cash, having a fix-a-flat, right? What if you have a spare tire, but you have two tires that are popped? Oh my goodness, I only have one spare. Well, what if you actually had a fix-a-flat? They can inflate your tire and you can drive 15, 30 miles and to the nearest gas station for emergency, instead of actually ruining or damaging the axle or the wheel of your car because it's a flat tire. Having this roadside materials and stuff, and having emergency water or food. Now, there's emergency water packages that can be replaced after 5 years, and there's these emergency food bars that can be, stored for 5 to 10 years. But because I live in the Northeast in New York, where it gets cold and it gets hot, I think you should put all of these in a nice insulated bag, like for camping and stuff. Why? Because if it's hot in the car, this stays cool. If it's really cold in the car, this stays warm. So again, I had this bag within another bag, and having that stuff will be very important in case of emergency. I'm reading, Susan, your comment. I have an emergency bag in my car, and in case I get stranded in a storm somewhere, go nuts, lighter, water, grain bar. Perfect. I love it. So let's do this. Like, let's be more resilient. So if you where's one place to start? Just try to have 5 to 7 days of emergency stuff, right? In terms of food, water, things like that. Eventually, you might have a goal of having 1 month, but it's important to have medical hygiene products, get all your safety and security, have documentation in case of emergency. Do you have all your insurance papers and legal documents? If you don't have insurance, maybe that's your goal, to get life insurance. Get life insurance first, and then if you can afford it, then get disability insurance. Life insurance in case something you die, your family's protected. Disability insurance is if you get injured and you can't work anymore, well, then that comes in. So again, the likelihood maybe of you getting disabled is very low, potentially, but they have different disability insurance. If I get disabled after 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days, I'm covered for the rest of my life, or my family's covered. So again, that's extra expense. You want to have to think about that. My goal is, I don't have umbrella insurance, but that's something I eventually want to get. And once I can afford it, I will get that. And having your bug out bags. So that's it. So at this point, it's 7:34. I still have more of a presentation, but I'm going to stop here, okay? Because I want to respect our time, so I'm going to delay this to the next training, where we're going to do a deep dive into the water. There was a person that I wanted to have as a guest speaker. I wasn't able to connect with him or get him. If I am, I'll be able to do that. But I think having clean water is something so important that I think that it's worth actually having a presentation just about that, right? And we'll have some discussion questions, and I'll see how much we want to cover in it. So let me actually stop right there. we're going to go to Q&A. Does anybody have any questions that they have? And while I'm doing that, I'm going to post in the post chat the Google form for you to give feedback on the presentation. So does anybody have any questions or comments? Henry, any final questions or comments before we go?
No, I'm all good. Thanks.
All right. Was this helpful?
Absolutely. A lot of great
Awesome.
insight here. Really cool for the resilience stuff, and the kind of like prepping goal stuff was really interesting as well.
Awesome. Excellent. And got it, Kieran. I got your comment that it was Susan, you said you got hungry and you're starting to eat a Cliff Bar because we're talking about food. Excellent. All right. Well, everybody, I wanted to thank you so much for the training. I'll keep you posted. In about 2 weeks, we'll do another deep dive about clean water and having clean environment. I think I'll expand it to share there are other areas in your life that you can have a clean environment so that we have enough substance to cover in a whole training. All right. I look forward to your post assessment. I really want you to write down what are your goals for 2024. Some of you have already mentioned them. Again, Zohab, I saw that you mentioned some of them. You're going to reach out to more schools, requesting speaking engagements with Tim Duffy. Yes, I would love to have that. Yes, become a founding member, make a contribution, $5 a month. You can go to our website, founding members, and then you could go to buymeacoffee.com/Electus Society so that you can join, apply for jobs and physical and financial goals for 2024. I love it. Thanks, Zohab, for sharing those goals. So everybody, have a great night. I look forward to seeing the next training. I look forward to reading all your post assessments, and I will email you the PDF if you take this post assessment within the next 24 hours, the whole entire PowerPoint training. And then for those who watch the recording in the future, you'll be able to download the PDF once you actually hit the post assessment on the thank you page and just click on that link. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.